We may not care about bowl games as much as we used to, but this game still matters.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Tiger fans? Morgan Thomas here, Clemson fan, Clemson grad, host and producer of Locked On Clemson, part-time host and producer over on 105.5 FM The Roar. Thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen of the day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network out there, and that is a big thanks to those of you out there that are everydayers. You know how we do it here on Locked On, exclusive Clemson content Monday through Friday right here for you, and even through the holiday season. And I hope that you are getting ready for Christmas Eve and Christmas, and you got all your presents wrapped. So, and thank you for tuning in and being a part of the show today. We have a ton to get into, and today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Now, we've got a lot to break down, starting or at least finishing up with why this bowl game really can still matter for us, and then also why this matchup may be better than you think, even though we kind of feel like it's not what we thought it would be maybe 4 months ago. And then we'll start the show off talking about one guy that has been at least a good leader for the team and kind of a good representation of Clemson football altogether. But let me start off with something that might be shocking to some people out there. Now, there's a lot of people that don't care about this game, and that's fine. You know, I can understand that. I mean, the college football world is changing a lot, and I do believe that the bowl games are kind of getting a little bit more irrelevant as we keep going, and maybe, just maybe, there won't be any more bowl games after this. Some people have even messaged me and said, well, Morg, why don't we just have the bowl game be another scrimmage or something like that? I mean, you don't have a 2026 team intact. So you're kind of in that purgatory, if you will. You're not really the 2025 team anymore. You're not really the 2026 team anymore. So I wouldn't even call it a scrimmage. And I can understand why fans just don't care as much because of that. And a lot of it is because of our own doing of how we manage the football season in college is pretty ridiculous. But I do still believe, and maybe I'm crazy, that this game does matter. You know, bowl games don't matter to every program, and they definitely don't matter to programs who don't get them. You know, there are teams out there that are going through a lot right now, and they are not playing in these games. And Clemson still has an opportunity to showcase what they can do, what they're about. And they, as you see posts from the players and from their players' family in New York and New York City, and just enjoying the opportunity to go to a city that maybe you don't always get to go to. As you know, you guys remember, I went to New York City for the first time in 38 years last year. Well, I guess I could say 37 years because it was last year. But, you know, I had a blast in New York City. And being able to take my family there was really fun. I'd love to go back and watch Clemson, but I'm not going to go down there or go up there, if you will. I'll let them enjoy it. When I went to New York City, it was much warmer than it is now. But, you know, also you get to play in an iconic stadium like Yankee Stadium. I know it's not the original Yankee Stadium, but it's still one of those things that, you know, will be a core memory, is what my wife likes to say. This is going to be a lifelong memory for a lot of these players, a lot of the fans that get to go to this game. And so just being there is still something that matters. And I've told you in the past that I do like that I would appreciate they keep bowl games that are at unique places, iconic venues, and with teams that have that market power. And you got to admit, Penn State and Clemson, while this season did not turn out the way we wanted on either side of the ball, on either team, both teams still are programs that matter and that made it, and that really kind of get this final showcase, and they earned it. And to me, that's the difference between, you know, this season could have been an utter disappointment, an utter decay for both teams, and their culture and their history could have just been really tarnished. And I know that they're both going through a lot right now. Penn State more than Clemson, really, if you think about it. And maybe they do regret getting rid of James Franklin, but I can understand where they were a little bit frustrated with, the consistent underperformance. But both teams really kind of built something out of nothing, made something out of nothing in this 2025 season. And to me, that's why it matters to these guys. I mean, maybe not everybody is playing. All your starters aren't there. A lot of guys are going to the portal. A lot of the guys are going to get their surgeries. And a lot of the guys that getting surgery do want to play, though. But really, overall, I think the guys that are sticking through, that are going through the practices, are definitely enjoying it and just trying to move forward and get one more opportunity to play Clemson football. One of those guys that's not going to get to play is really Wade Woodaz because of surgery. And, his season ended. I mean, he's not going to be able to play in the bowl game. And that rivalry performance against South Carolina really was it for him. 8 tackles and a huge 4th down pass breakup that will probably be remembered in season history for this season. So a lot of frustration with Wade from the fan base for his lack of tackling and letting players slip through his fingers and stuff like that. But he kept fighting through. He was tough. He took ownership, and he put his body on the line for his team. Tom Allen trusted him to help run the defense and be a leader on the defense, not just line up and be a role player, but actually communicate, actually run the defense, and actually hold his teammates accountable and hold others to the standard. And that really shows a guy like Wade Woodaz lived Clemson football. That's why this game matters, And even though he's not going to get to play, it really rewards a lot of those guys who lived Clemson football. And I know Cade Klubnik is one of those guys. For all the frustrations out there, he did his best. He tried his best year after year to get better and improve. And it didn't always work out the way you wanted. Same for Wade Woodaz. But they did their best. They tried their hardest. And they put it all out there for Clemson football. This team was 1-3. Worst start in September that we've ever seen in a Dabo Swinney era, really. Worst first, 7 games that we've ever seen in Dabo Swinney's era. And that could have been a breaking point. Could have been a point where everybody just crumbles and the locker room crumbles and the finger started pointing and everybody jumping to the portal. I mean, because you can do that nowadays. You can just jump into the portal mid-season and, get them next year could have been the whole idea. But that didn't happen. Instead, Clemson became, one of the, or if not, I think it's the first team in history to win 7 games after starting so poorly. And this is not going to be like one of those master highlight reel seasons for Dabo or one of those ones that you remember, or want to remember, but there'll be a lot of good points that you will remember and take from it. And guys like Wade Woodaz and their ability to kind of keep fighting through. Dependable, accountable leadership, guys that did and embodied exactly what you want out of Clemson football. I mean, Wade Woodaz, 4 seasons, wasn't highly recruited, over 200 tackles, ton of sacks, ton of fumbles, and played the last 2 seasons as a starter that you could depend on. That's the kind of DNA you want to build around, Was Wade Woodaz a superstar guy? But no, he wasn't. But, from where he was recruited to then where he got to and the dependability that you got out of him, that's why I'm still interested in this game. It may not be the 2025 team. It may not be the 2026 team. But as Dabo Swinney said today, they still got enough to win this game. He still believes in the foundation and the guys that he has out there that are practicing, that have stuck around, that are wanting to finish the season right. And so That's one of the reasons why I'm not going to say this is a meaningless game. You may not care about it as much, but don't tell me that the game doesn't matter. And I look forward to seeing the Clemson football team play one more game and see what they can do against a historical team in Penn State. It should be maybe a better game than we give it credit for. And that's what we're going to talk about segment 2, why this matchup might be better than you think, right here on Locked on Clemson. There's nothing like the college football season, tailgates, packed stadiums, and being right in the middle of it all. The energy, the bands, the moments you remember forever, but actually getting tickets, that's part of what used to be so frustrating. The long queues, the logins, the prices jumping at checkout. That's why Game Time gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to unlock amazing college football tickets and experiences in just a few taps. I opened the Game Time app and I looked at the upcoming games, and they have a lot going on there. You should go check it out. The app is incredibly easy to use. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Hey, thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out our new Everydayer Club. You know, I love the access to the ad-free audio for Locked On Clemson, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app out there. You can go over to lockedonclemson.supercast.com or tap the link in the show notes to learn more. So go check it out. I know you won't be disappointed there. And thank you so much to the everydayers out there that are sticking with me Monday through Friday, every single week. You know, Penn State is one of those teams that I look forward to playing, and they're already talking about the uniforms. It's getting me more hyped as we get closer to the game. They're coming out with the white collar, the blue top. So what I'm assuming is that Clemson will come out with the orange breeches and the white top. And a matchup like that, just by uniform alone, has enough to spark my interest. You know, I already told you in segment 1, I'm looking forward to it just to see Clemson football and to see those guys that have fought through this difficult season all the way to the end. And even on the Penn State sideline, I'm looking forward to seeing what their team, what kind of team they can produce in this game after all the turmoil and disappointment that they've had to deal with. It could be kind of a redemption game for both to kind of just showcase what they're really all about. Both teams are not bad teams. They're specific teams that have strengths and weaknesses that make this matchup better than what maybe a lot of people are giving them credit for. Now, you look at some of the analysts out there, you know, they're saying this may be one of the best non-playoff games out there. But then when you talk to a lot of fans, again, there's still this idea that this is going to be a wash, and it's going to be boring, and it's going to be nothing, and it's a bunch of backups and a bunch of guys that aren't, like I said, aren't really the 2025 team, aren't really the 2026 team, that purgatory team. But, you know, I do believe that it's going to be a good matchup to see what Clemson can do. I've already told you last week that I was very nervous about this game. I am concerned about Clemson being able to win this game because we know Penn State wants to run the football, and they are pretty good at it, and they're going to be committed to it. Katron Allen is one of the most productive backs in the Big Ten. He's patient, he's physical, and he's going to get his yards if you let him, and he's going to get his yards even if you don't let him because he's just that doggone good. And so when Penn State does that and they have that identity, look out, because I'm worried that Clemson may not be able to win the game. They may not be able to stop the Allen train, if you will, because of just how powerful he is and how good that blocking is up front for Penn State. And Clemson's run defense has improved under Tom Allen, but it's not the same players going into this game. You're not going to see a lot of the front four or a few of those guys on the front four because they're going to the NFL, like TJ Parker and Peter Woods. Those guys are moving on. And so Clemson's going to have to kind of scrap through. And that's one where I think is pretty exciting to see. Can a depleted Clemson defense scrap through and hang with Penn State, who arguably their biggest strength is running the football at you? Clemson statistically is pretty good in run defense. But again, that's with a completely different team, the 2025 team. I would have more confidence with if it was straight up, maybe in a playoff scenario. It's not just the players, though, altogether. I mean, some of it is the staff and the scheming and what Tom Allen is able to do. It's not going to be by accident if Clemson can win this matchup. It's going to be based on scheme, technique, discipline, and the linebacking core. The defensive edge rushers and the ends are going to have to play their best games, in my opinion. It's going to be played. It's going to be, in New York, it's going to be much colder than Clemson's ever used to. While we're watching the game in like the 70s, they're going to be kind of colder. We're hearing, very cold up there in New York at kickoff. So how will Clemson react? I mean, I'm assuming Penn State will be able to react properly, but how will Clemson be able to react in a different kind of atmosphere, in a different kind of temperature? A trench fight, worries me. If it continues to build around that, which I do believe it will, or it has, then that's where I worry. That's where I'm concerned. I do believe that Clemson is losing the main matchup in this competition because Penn State's strength is really what I believe something that Clemson is a big question mark. Now, Penn State doesn't have their best quarterback, I guess, in Drew Aller. They don't have some of their stars going into this game. They've got a few other guys that have opted out. They've got a few guys that are going into the portal. And so there's some noise happening on that side of the ball. It seemed like earlier last week, there was a lot of noise on Clemson's side. And now there's some noise on the Penn State side. Look, we both knew that this was going to be the backup bowl. I called it that last week. And so it's not the 2025 team. It's not 2026 team. Penn State's piecing things together late. Clemson is also piecing things together, but both teams are going to be grinding towards a win or trying to get a win this Saturday. So we need to enjoy our time with our family and our loved ones for Christmas Eve and Christmas. And me, I'm in a kind of a split family. My mom and dad were divorced when I was young, so I'm going to be bouncing around a lot. Now I'm married. I got their family too. So Christmas for me is not relax. Christmas for me is a lot of driving and going from one house to another. And I don't really like that. But one thing I get to say is that on Saturday, I'm going to calm down. I'm going to sit on my couch and watch this game on my big screen TV and enjoy it. I don't really know what to expect. It may be uncomfortable. Clemson may need to have to get dirty in this game. It may not be pretty. It may be ugly. But we've lived through an ugly season overall. So if it comes down to ball security, I'm not going to be shocked. If it comes down to red zone execution, I'm not going to be shocked. If it comes down to tackling, I'm not going to be shocked. If it comes down to which quarterback panics first, I'm not going to be shocked. Does Clemson have the advantage? In some ways, I think they do. And in a lot of ways, I think they don't. Penn State wants to attack Clemson with their strength, and that's what's going to make Clemson uncomfortable. But it's really what I'm excited to see is, okay, if this is truly a bare bones team, let's see what Clemson football really is all about. When you strip away a lot of the starters, when you strip away a lot of the guys that are making all the money, let's see what Clemson's really all about. That's why I'm still looking forward to the game on Saturday. All right, hey, We're going to go into segment 3, finish it all up, talking about why it matters that Clemson show up for this game and show out for this game in the Pinstripe Bowl. NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're just watching the game and you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly so you can track the next touchdown scorer, drive results, totals, and more. So if you want to get right in the middle of the action, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Every program decides what it's going to do and who it's going to be when things don't go the way that you expected. Every program has to kind of sit back and say, and reevaluate things and say, okay, this is not how we wanted things to go, but what are we going to do going forward? And that's what's been really cool about this season, because again, Clemson could have folded, the staff could have folded, the players could have folded, but they didn't, and we've heard a lot of the complaints about the quarterback and the offensive line and the running game and the using wide receivers in different plays and the lack of depth and, the star players on defense not stepping up. I mean, those things are all things that's come out of my mouth. Those are all things that I have definitely complained about. And to be able to say that you're playing a football game at the end of December after a season like this, I know it's not the playoffs. I get it. It's not the playoffs. I get it. It's a baseball stadium. Those are true things. But, at the end of the day, to me, showing up is what matters the most. Whether you're a fan that can go to the game and whether you're family members that can go watch your family member play on your boy play or your nephew or whoever, your son play on the field. The game matters in a lot of ways. It matters because it's still Clemson football. It matters because it gives another opportunity for guys who are maybe the seniors who are never going to wear the uniform again. Think about that. As much frustration as Cade Klubnik has given me over the years, and you as well, I'm sure, this is the last time he's going to wear a Clemson uniform, and he chose to keep out there and keep fighting and keep showing up for the university and for the uniform and for the staff and for Dabo Swinney and for us, ultimately for us as fans. There's a lot of other seniors out there that are going to never wear the Clemson uniform again, but they're still going out there and they're going to give it one last go. I think that's pretty cool, to be honest with you. We lose sight of that these guys are getting paid and we just need to treat them transactionally. And I get that too. I do. But at the end of the day, this is one of those things where, there's a lot of these young men that are never going to go to the NFL. And going to Clemson actually did matter to them. Going to Penn State actually did matter to them. It wasn't just transactional for them. And even some of the guys that got paid a lot of money, put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into playing for the team that they're on. And so it matters. It also matters because these underclassmen that are finally getting opportunities because of the chaos in the roster management or the lack of management, the roster mismanagement, and with the offseason mismanagement of what is college football, you've got underclassmen that are sticking with it, that are trying to get real snaps. And so it matters for the underclassmen. It matters for the seniors. Dabo Swinney still got a really good overall record and a lot of historical things at stake. 14 straight seasons with a postseason win, 15 straight seasons with 8 wins. Those aren't just luck. And those aren't just stats either. If you think back, every single team that came through here the past 15 years, each one of them was unique. Each one of them had your favorite player on it or a player that you liked the most at that time. Some players that definitely frustrated you, made you scratch your head, made you want to throw things. But at the end of the day, what I really love is that those young men are still putting on the uniform, still going to the classes that we used to go to. And even though things didn't go great this season, they responded the way that we hoped that they would respond. They didn't respond with a bunch of just losing one game and then winning everything else. No, they still had to deal with a lot of losses, more than we wanted to deal with as fans, but they continued to be professional. They continue to be really great in Tiger Walk with the kids and the fans out there. They continued to prepare, and there's a lot of pride on the line between both teams, Clemson and Penn State. They still got enough, like Dabo said. They got enough to win the game, and that's why it matters. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be glamorous, but it is going to be Clemson football. And so showing up in New York, I think, is going to be a big deal. Competing against a, great program like Penn State is a big deal. Playing in Yankee Stadium is really cool. And finishing the season, even though the season kind of stunk, matters. So what I remind you in this holiday season, if you will, is that everything's not perfect. It's not perfect in our life. It's not perfect in our families. And to be honest with you, all those rec league softball teams, they were not perfect either. There was only really one team that was perfect. And that's the Purple Huskies. And I will always remember them. But a lot of the other teams had a lot of losses, dealt with a lot of disappointment. But those kids cared about coming out and practicing and getting better and trying harder and doing their best. And, I do believe that Clemson was able to salvage something because the majority of the team cared, and they tried their best. There was a few that, maybe slacked off a little bit. There was Shelton Lewis who ditched the team, which you don't like to see. But that's just one example out of an entire team, And when everything goes perfect, that's where coaches like Dabo shine. That's where the best position coaches shine. That's where your leaders shine. And in a lot of ways, Dabo earned $11 million because of the successes that he has, but he also earned that $11 million because we trust him to get Clemson through in the bad times too, in the tough times. So this season would be one of those ones that I would say is a tough one. And for a team that started 1-3, they could have folded, and a chance to close strong while your in-state rival's not even playing, to me, is another opportunity to create momentum and move Clemson forward into 2026. The foundation is still there. We know that. Programs are never going to be elite forever. Even Alabama is not elite forever. Even Georgia not elite forever. Ohio State not going to be elite forever. Clemson obviously is in a valley right now compared to when they were elite. But the ones that stay relevant over decades are the ones where their foundation is built on the right things. And so that's why I believe that the success at Clemson won't stop. And a lot of people in the comments have said, well, Morg, I just don't know if Clemson will ever be elite again. And I would say, don't count your own team out before they get an opportunity to play. They get chances to play. They get chances to prove to us what they can do. And every team is unique. Every team should get their own opportunity to show what they can do. 2025's team had everything going for them, and it didn't work out. But what they did show us is the heart that they had to keep pushing through, even when the season wasn't as expected, even when things didn't go the way they wanted, and when everything wasn't perfect. So overall, a lot of rights have been wronged by the way this team just continued to keep fighting. And so is this team against Penn State, if they lose, is it going to be detrimental? No. But showing up and the fact that they're even here and, we're talking about a game on the 27th of December is pretty cool for this team. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the team can do, what the staff can do, what the players can do to match up against Penn State and give them their best shot at winning the Pinstripe Bowl in Yankee Stadium, of all places. Pretty cool. All right. Hey, thank you so much for tuning into Locked On Clemson. We appreciate you and your support, all the everydayers out there. Christmas is coming up, so we'll continue our discussion about the Penn State game this Saturday as we continue this week. Make sure you just subscribe to the podcast, Locked On Clemson, so you get all the latest episodes. And you can find me over on X in between episodes. Hey, if you need a last-minute holiday gift or someone keeps asking what you want, make it easy for them. Ask for the Everydayer Club. Ad-free episodes of this show, exclusive Discord server access, and more. Subscriptions can be gifted through lockedonclemson.supercast.com. For those of you on video, we're going to send you over to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. And on audio, make sure that you take a moment and make your second listen Locked On College Football. Hey, that's it for this episode. And as always, Tiger fans, we'll see you tomorrow. And we'll see you at the top of the hill.